We're going to talk about cultural conflicts of prohibition and the role of religion. Prohibition. Prohibition was known as the noble experiment to those who defended it. It went into effect in January 1920 and banned the sale, manufacture, and transportation of alcohol. Prohibitionists believed that alcohol was a dangerous drug that destroyed lives and disrupted families and communities. They also believed that it was the government's duty to enforce prohibition and prohibit alcohol being sold. Most supporters of prohibition were the middle class and those who considered themselves progressives. Prohibition and its effect. Prohibition essentially reduced drinking in some areas of the country and had a good effect. However, it also presented unintentional outcomes that highly affected everyone. Some of the consequences included a rise in organized crime, smuggling, tax revenue, and illegal production and sale of alcohol. All of this made acquiring alcohol as easy as it would have been before prohibition was introduced. A guy in Chicago named Al Capone, the person in the middle of the picture, built a criminal empire that was largely based on illegal alcohol. He was so devoted to it that he formed an army of gunmen against any intruders. When more conflict resulted from prohibition, a lot of middle-class progressives stopped supporting it. However, most rural Protestants continued to passionately defend it. It wasn't enough because the opponents of prohibition gained more influence and were able to get the 18th Amendment nullified.
Religion in America. There are many different religions and denominations in America. There are Catholic, Baptist, Methodist, Protestants, and Judaism. Some of the different religions in different regions are that the West were mostly Catholic, the Southeast and most of the South were Baptist, the Midwest were mostly Methodist and Lutheran, and then over time, Christianity became less popular and other religions became more prominent in different areas. Some percentages of religion are 85% of the population of America was Christian, 57% was Protestant, 30% was evangelical, and 24% was Catholic. Role of religion in America. Religion had a big part to play in politics in America. Religion in America by Winthrop Hudson was also a big influence. It addresses topics ranging from European and Puritan origins of American religious thought, encompassing the ramifications of the Great Awakening and the effect of nationhood on religious practice, and extending, though, to the shifting religious configuration of the late 20th century. Another book is called The Man Nobody Knows by Bruce Barton, and it portrayed Jesus Christ as not only a religious prophet, but also as a super salesman who picked up 12 men from the bottom ranks of business and forged them into an organization that conquered the world. The parables, Barton claimed, were the most powerful advertisements of all time. Barton's message was fully in tune with the new spirit of consumerism culture. This all could have influenced Christians to support a specific type of political candidate or leader. Modernist religion. Consumer culture had a big influence on modernist religion. Consumer culture was an increasing emphasis on immediate personal fulfillment, and theological modernists taught Christianity differently than other Christianity. They were also taught to accept a fate that would help individuals to live more fulfilling lives in the present world. This was all taught by Harry Emerson Fosdick, which was a pastor in New York City. He claimed that the basis of Christian religion was not an examined faith, but a fully developed personality. He also wrote Abundant Religion, where he said that Christianity would furnish an inward spiritual dynamic for radiant and triumphal living.
Protestants divided. So the difference between modern Protestantism and traditional faith is that modern Protestants are mostly middle class people and they have adapted religion into science. They've also had their religion based on secular society. Meanwhile, traditional faith or fundamentalism is mostly provincial and rural people. They took the Bible very literally, and instead of adapting religion into their science, they opposed the teachings of Charles Darwin. The fundamentalism movement. So, Billy Sunday was an ordained Presbyterian minister who was also a fundamentalist. He had said that he wanted to pray and preach in a way that everyone can understand. He held many revival meetings in which his sermons reflected how the people felt about the transition from a rural to an industrial society. From these sermons, he gained a lot of political strength, and eventually he changed the teachings of the Bible at public schools. And the Scopes trial of 1925. John Scopes was a high school teacher in Tennessee who was accused of violating Tennessee's Butler Act. This act basically said that people could not teach Charles Darwin's theory of evolution in schools. The trial was all a setup in order to bring attention to the science of evolution. This affected the fundamentalists because they did take the Bible so literally, and this is what they wanted taught in schools.